a brand new Simon Says Stamp video. Today I'm going to be focusing on organizational ideas. I've got 5 ways that are handy organizational tips that you might find that you want to incorporate into your craft room to help get your supplies organized. The first idea I'm going to be sharing is button organization. Buttons are something that I love having in my craft studio for different projects, and I find the best way to organize my buttons are first of all by color. If I have them sorted by color, I can easily find the color option that I need for my project. After I've had them sorted by color, all I need to do is go through the buttons and find the one that fits either the shape that I need or the specific shade of that particular color. Either way, it's really a good option for me to be able to find the right button that I need for my project. I use these divided bins, which are perfect for storing buttons, and I can fit 6 of these into my 12 by 12 inch drawers in my craft space. I have them sorted by rainbow color. I also have a spot for grays and blacks and neutrals, and then I have a section down at the bottom there on the left that is for all of my specialty buttons. So things that aren't really a certain color, things like gold and silver and then other funky shaped things. But then all my other solid color buttons are sorted in color types such as red, green, blue, purple, and so on. I found that having 4 of these units was perfect for my needs. You could organize your buttons even further and use more bins if you find that it might be helpful, or you can use less if your space is more limited. Another idea I have for you is utilizing 12 by 12 bins. I like using 12 by 12 bins for storing things that I don't reach for as often. This allows me to stick them on the shelf and keep them out of the way, but they're lockable so everything inside doesn't get dusty, and all I have to do is clean the actual bin itself when I go to clean my craft room. So in this particular bin, I like to store my fun foam because I don't reach for the fun foam all the time. I reach for it for certain projects. So having it in this bin not only is a great storage solution because it holds a huge amount of fun foam in here, I can also tuck the scraps along the right-hand side there, and it's lockable, so that way I can go ahead and carry this with me, and I don't have to worry about it opening up. Another thing I store in 12 by 12 bins are my die cutting supplies that I don't reach for as often. So basically anything that's not an actual die goes into one of these 12 by 12 bins. So in this particular bin, I have my extra cutting plates along the left here. I have not only the full-size cutting plates, but I also have a couple of smaller cutting plates that I use for partial die cutting techniques. I also have an extra platform down there. I also like to store my embossing folders in here because I don't use embossing folders as often. I also have my texture pads and also my impression plates in there. And then along the bottom I have a few of the little tools that go with the Sizzix Big Shot, and again a few more embossing folders there along the bottom. I find that this is a perfect solution for storing these things that I don't reach for, and having those lockable lids is invaluable to me. Okay, so staying on the die cutting topic here for a little bit longer, magnetic sheets are another item that I love using for organizing my dies. This helps keep my dies together as I have them stored in my pocket sleeves. You can see here an example, and I'll show you a little bit close-up look at them in a second. But these magnetic sheets are really nice. They're flexible, they're very thin, so they're easy to cut, but they're very strong magnets. These will hold your dies perfectly. And we have some of these over at the Simon Says Stamp shop, so I'll have them linked in the video description along with all the other products that I'm showing here. But here's a close-up look at how I store them with my dies. For die sets where I have a lot of dies, I will put them on magnetic sheets. It holds all the dies in place. I can flip this upside down and the dies will not come off. That's how strong that magnet is. So it's perfect for holding my dies in place and keeping them nice and organized. I find this is helpful for me when I'm flipping through my dies to see what I want to use. Everything's all neatly laid out inside of the sheets so I can easily see what I have in that particular die set. So then you can cut these magnetic sheets down to be any size you need, which is perfect, and you can also use up scraps like I did here for this border die set. I just used the scrap of magnetic sheet that I had left over from cutting it down to bigger sizes. And for cutting the magnetic sheets, I like using the Tim Holtz tonic scissors. These are the shears. These cut through everything, and I find that the long blade is really helpful when I'm cutting the magnetic sheets. You can use any types of scissors, but I really prefer these for cutting with the magnetic sheets. Alright, now for baker's twine. Baker's twine can be difficult for storing because they come on little spools, and I've never found a good way that I really liked because I do have quite a bit of baker's twine, and having a lot of spools all over the place just wasn't working for me. So I found that storing them inside of these floss bins was perfect. A lot of baker's twine will work on floss cards, and I find that this is the perfect way for me to be able to store my baker's twine, keep it nice and organized. I can see what colors I have because I have it sorted by rainbow order, and everything stays nice and neat because on spools, the baker's twine was constantly unraveling and I had it everywhere. So I like using little floss cards, and I just take the baker's twine and I wrap it around the floss card like I would if I was wrapping embroidery floss around it. So for those of you that aren't familiar with floss cards, all you do is you stick the end of the twine or floss, if you're going to be using them for actual floss, just stick it in the slot and start wrapping the baker's twine around the card. You'll continue doing this until you have the entire card filled with your floss or baker's twine, and then you'll use the other end of the little slot on the top of the floss card, and you can go ahead and put the end of the floss or baker's twine into that slot. And then I can fit them inside of this plastic bin, which is really great. We have this plastic bin over at the Simon Says Stamp shop, which I will link to. I also have extra spaces for when I have more twine to add into here, but I can also store my extra cards in here as well. I use this same method for storing my embroidery floss too. So this bin is perfect because it is lockable, so I could drop this on the floor, I could turn it upside down, and nothing's going to end up falling out. So I find this is really helpful for me because I am a bit klutzy. I can drop things very easily. Alright, and now my final tip for you today is mini tins, which are perfect for storing your mini ink cubes. Mini ink cubes are all the rage right now, and I find that the Tim Holtz mini distress ink tins are perfect for storing little mini ink cubes. I don't have very many mini ink cubes just because I like the full-sized ink pads better. But the ones that I do have, I like storing in these tins because they keep everything nice and organized. So inside of this mini tin is a little plastic holder. This holder has some raised areas or on the sides to help keep your ink pads in the same place all the time, so they won't shift as you stick them in the tin. So you can see here, if I stick that little ink cube in the center there, it's not going to move around. Once you close the lid, they don't shift at all. So I can fill this tin with ink cubes, close the lid, and again, this is another lockable lid. So I can turn this upside down and nothing ends up opening up. So these ink cubes are going to stay in place, and it's a really great organizational piece for storing those mini ink cubes. Now, another option for you is that some people like to take the lids off of these distress tins. So the lid can come off and you can do that and store them as basically trays. But I like having the lid because, again, I'm klutzy and I like making sure that if I drop something, it's not going to make a mess in my craft room. So that's 5 different ways that you can get your craft room organized to help you work better. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and head on over to the Simon Says Stamp blog where I'll have more information on these storage options that I have shown you here. I'll also have a link in the video description and also over at the Simon Says Stamp blog to a second video that we created a few months back that have other organizational tips for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiration. Thanks so much for watching this video. I will see you again soon and have a very happy Monday. Bye!